Welcome to The Change, a podcast about the changes in life that shake, break, and make us. I'm Laura, a 45-year-old writer, podcaster, and mum who has until recently always loved change.
And I'm Kathy, a 53-year-old writer, podcaster, and mum, and change is actually my kryptonite. We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia on which this podcast is recorded and recognise the continuing connections to lands, waters and communities.
We pay our respects to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures and elders past and present.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, Kathy. Here we are, 2025. I can't believe it. I can't believe we are 25 years post the millennium. We were just having a little chat about that. It was a big year for you. And that's now 25 years ago.
Yeah, 1999 was a big year. The end of 1999, I suppose.
Wow.
Yes, I know. It's kind of crazy. And I just can't believe that was 25 years ago.
I know.
That when we were all like prepping for Y2K and being kind of like terrified that we would wake up on the 1st of January 2000 and nothing would work because no one knew what was going to happen with the computers when they switched over to a new millennium. It was random
so
and
basic,
weird.
doesn't it? And hilarious.
It really does now. But anyway, yes. So that was 25 years ago.
Yes,
and
weirdly. My God.
Weirdly, very weirdly. And here we are.
And here we are. And I mean, so much has changed in 25 years. Obviously, we have got older and wiser. And
I didn't get older.
Well, you know,
Really?
apparently, according to our date of birth, we're now another year on from that. But I think something
I'm not okay with that.
No, oh God, I know. I do feel like the even approach to aging has changed a lot in the last few years, and there's so many more positive thoughts about aging generally. I think we are part of that movement to age positively and gratefully and all those hashtag moments. But the other thing I feel like that's changed is, you know how you start a new year and there'd be New Year's resolutions. Everyone talk about how they need to lose 10 kilos or join the gym or cut out chocolate or whatever it is they were going to do. I feel like the conversation around that has shifted quite a bit. And a lot of the messaging you now see from some quite big big names on Instagram or online generally is more about just being kind to yourself and thinking more long-term about, you know, yes, healthy approaches and wellness and all those things still exist. Plenty of diet companies still making lots of money from us. But I think the conversation's a bit more nuanced and smart. We're not all killing ourselves trying to do those things that we used to do 10 years ago. Do you think? I think it's changed a lot.
Look, definitely. I mean, I know I think I used the words exactly. There will be no new year, new me. It will be new year, same chaotic me as always.
I like that though. I think good. We shouldn't have to rebrand, rechange every 12 months. It's not necessary.
And like there's a whole lot of things that are still perfectly fine about me and about, you know, like, sure, there's things that I want to leave behind, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to be a new person. Like you don't become someone new. I mean, yes, like it's always a good idea to, I guess, you know, be healthy, and it's not about weight and it's not about like, you know, it's really important to be all of those things. But I think the main winners on the 1st of January are gym companies and weight loss companies that, you know, sign everybody up on subscriptions. And there's a funny meme that I've seen a few times, and it's, you know, basically those money counting machines.
Yes.
And that's gyms on the 1st of January. They're just sitting there counting their money because they know basically that everybody's going to come for like the first 10 days or something. And then after that, bam.
Yeah.
Not going to come again. But there are also people also are inherently lazy and they don't cancel the subscription.
Correct.
Yeah. And it's very hard to get out of a gym subscription. I don't know if you've ever tried to do that, but
well, a lot of people talk about how their credit card goes to the gym, but they don't. Because that's what ends up happening. Yeah, but I think people are starting, and I say people, I guess I mean our contemporaries and
Mhm.
younger people as well are definitely seeing a lot more examples of people of all shapes and sizes online, on Instagram, in the movies, in music industry, that are not skinny and are living their lives in a different way to perhaps how we used to think back in 1995 or 2005 about how we
Or
needed to,
1985
or
when
1985, which we will
I
be
was
coming to later.
probably, in the midst of an eating disorder.
Yeah.
But,
Oh no. Well, that's not
well,
good. Yeah.
pretty common for
Oh, terrifying. It's a terrifying thing. And that whole trope of, yes, new year, new you does play into all of those
Mhm.
insecurities we have. And I think it's really good to see a lot more of a positive shift towards people just going, no, new year, same me, but maybe I'm going to add in some things, like add in some kindness to myself, or I'm going to be healthy this year, but it's going to be a slow burn. I'm going to read more books. I'm going to go back to university. I'm going to, things that
Yeah.
are a bit more, I guess just a bit more varied, not just about the number on the scales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that, do you have anything that you want to do in 2025? Like, is there any things that you are going to investigate? Like, is there read more books, or is there any study on the horizon for you or anything like that?
Oh, yes. No, definitely no study. I am only a couple of months into a new job. So I think I'd like to really bed into that and have some rewarding work experiences this year. And I just want to be healthy and have more balance in my life. And I'm yet to do my little mood board. I always try and do one at the start of every year. And last year was pretty good. I have to show you. I'll take a photo and put it on online. But
Absolutely. I'm not big
good on that.
into mood boards, not because I find them fiddly and I think I overthink them.
Oh, mine's very basic. It's not
Oh,
pretty.
no, but I just want them to be, perfect, like, the Pinterest mood board kind of, like everything's perfect. And and because of that, I think I find the whole process of doing that overwhelming.
Well, that's just making work for yourself. I mean, I'm talking about, look, I'm going to show you. It is literally like this.
But see, like, even that is overwhelming.
Oh, I've just cut some stuff out of a magazine and wrote some words on a little whiteboard just for those at home.
All right. Well, maybe I'll give it a go. We'll see.
Give it a go.
But yeah, so I mean,
what's on your horizon for 2025?
I want to read more books.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, I kind of lost my reading mojo for a bit. I don't really know why, but yes, I want to read more books. I think I want to do some study.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Exciting.
I'm just not sure. I'm trying to work out which way I go. Is it study for me? I mean, obviously the study for me is going to be for me. But am I going to go down the path of, like, things that will boost my career in terms of cybersecurity and, like, the cyber world, which is huge and really exciting and
relevant.
interesting. Or am I going to go down the path of creative writing or something like that? So I'm not sure. Don't know.
Well, that's an exciting prospect and much more interesting than joining a new gym.
Yeah. That's not happening. We can circle back on those.
Yeah, see how we go. Check in.
Like mid-year check-in or something like that.
Love it.
Yeah. And there's lots happening out there in the world, but let's kick off our first summer series ep with a bit of a good news story. I say good news, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Some people will say good, some people will say, I'm sure this is going to have mixed reviews. But Laura, you're bringing us a bit of a royal return?
Yes. So for those that may have noticed, the 1.3 million people that have already started following, Meghan Markle is back on the gram. I had a quick look.
She's Meghan or Megan?
She's Meghan.
Right.
I just can't get Megan out of my head because I know so many Megans, and it's always hard to know. Australia definitely loves a Megan. but she was a Meghan. Yeah. So she's back on the Instagram. She's done 2 posts, and she's got 1.3 million followers, kind of awaiting her next move.
Ooh.
And her next move, according to Netflix, is a cooking show, and it's called With Love, Meghan. And so quite different to their, well, what was that? A kind of documentary about how they met and they're leaving the royal family.
Shit on the royal family.
Yeah, so there was that. This is more of a lifestyle situation. So I think it's going back to the TIG. Remember how before she married Harry, she had a lifestyle blog called the TIG. And she's very aesthetic, isn't she, Meghan? She's very beautiful. She's always been into yoga, and she on the Instagram, she used to always share photos of her in various yoga poses. And, you know,
I don't remember.
Okay. Well, she's, you know, she's a beautiful woman to kind of just look at and also behold doing things. Okay. So that's all fine. The trailer itself. So I watched the trailer. I think, okay, so let me tell you, if for those that haven't seen the trailer, like Kathy, it's just Meghan cooking fancy things. It looked like a focaccia, maybe a tart. She's in her very beautiful white, you know, home. She's out in her little veggie patch, just picking some selective herbs, popping them in the basket. She's, you know, everything that she's wearing
very relatable.
Yeah, linen, sort of beautiful, natural tones, highly relatable, and her hair is perfectly coiffed. And in the show, she's obviously talking to other
highly relatable
people that also have really good hair about these tarts that she's going to make. Yeah, like us. Look at us now. Look at us, just like us, right? Again, for those that are listening, clearly we've got no makeup on. We're sitting here in our athleisure wear. So yeah, it's really interesting little snapshot of Meghan Markle being rather unrelatable. And I had a quick look online, and of course, there's all the usual takedown. So the Guardian ran this hilarious story called "Let Them Eat Sponge Cake." We watched Meghan Markle's cooking show trailer, so you don't have to. And just some of the lines, it's just funny. I think it's supposed to be satirical, but it starts with, it's simple. You start in the lush, verdant garden that abuts your estate, strolling through rows of ripe, juicy berries, gathering tomatoes, squash blossoms, and jewel-toned lettuce leaves in a dainty wicker basket. Then you stop by an apiary and collect fresh honey. And, you know, it goes on and on about just how
you reading it in your beautiful British accent actually makes it even better. But I mean, look, am I going to watch it? Probably, because I'm just a sucker for the royals, and I don't hate Harry and Meghan. Like, I'm going to say that. I know, come at me, people. But look, I actually think what they did was quite brave, and saying, sorry, but we're out. This doesn't work for us. We don't like this. We're out. Do I agree with the way they did it? Probably not. You know, you don't tend to bite the hand that feeds you, but they did, and whatever. But do I think that they deserve the level of hate they get? No, not at all. And there are plenty of people in the world who have done significantly worse things, and dumped on their families in bigger ways, and they don't even get like an iota of the hate that Meghan and Harry get. So I kind of feel for them, and I feel like everyone's just kind of laughing at them, and they want this to fail like everything else. But it won't fail. Like, the reality is they will get eyeballs on it. People will, even if they hate watch it, at the end of the day, that's still watching, that still converts into eyeballs, it still converts into clicks. Even when you hate follow something, if you understand anything about marketing and PR, that still all converts. So if you really, really hate it, then just don't, I guess. But I was, when you were reading that, kind of giggling away to myself, because all I can think of is Nigella massaging things in a very Nigella way, and Meghan not doing things in a very Nigella way.
No.
Because I don't think that's appropriate.
That's
for
not on
a
brand for her.
princess. And
Duchess.
oh, sorry, she's a duchess. She's not a princess. And then I was also giggling to myself because on Christmas Day I was trying to get some pomegranate out and of the and anyone that has ever tried to do that.
Yeah, don't wear white.
Well, I didn't have white on, but I did have something that was kind of beige, but fortunately had red on it as well. And because I say fortunately, because I covered myself head to toe in pomegranate juice. So that's what I'm just imagining all these women in their beige linen or their white linen trying to deal with pomegranate.
With their perfect blow dry. And I think that's the thing. I think like a lot of the commentary online is like, who is this show for? Because I don't hate Meghan Markle. I don't hate Harry. I think you're absolutely right. Like they receive far too much hatred online from people that read the Daily Mail and have decided that she's awful. And I think having seen the Blake Lively PR takedown story and seeing how the sausage is made, we all kind of knew that that's how it works, and that people, there are people out there promoting and enhancing the hateful stories about them and feeding them to the Daily Mail and then commenting, and literally people are making up comments, and then real people read them and go, oh yeah, she's awful, and they think they're part of a conversation, but it's all been manufactured.
But it's all like, we've seen it year on year on year, and it happens all the time.
Yeah, to certain women.
Every time it happens, we as a society say we're not going to do that again. But look at what they did to Diana. Look at what they did to Fergie. I mean,
and Britney. Outside of the royals, you've just had takedowns.
What were the awful things they used to call Porky Fergie, or
horrible to her. Yeah,
and
horrible.
Like just the things that are said, particularly to women. I mean, like Fergie's ex is getting some nasty, but he was so right.
That's right.
Like,
he's legitimately connected to a paedophile criminal.
Yeah, and then like the latest with the Chinese spy rings or whatever.
Yes,
but I mean, I do love my royals, but I'm just sick of it. Like I'm just sick of the takedowns.
Yeah.
If they are justified because the person has themselves actually done something bad, different situation.
Yeah.
But are we taking down people just because we're taking down people? And even
for why?
Princess Catherine herself was part of a takedown when, she was Katie in Waiting or whatever Waity Katie. And then Meghan came on the scene and everyone loved her. She was the darling. She was the breath of fresh air that the royals needed. And then someone decided, nah, we hate her. And so that's where the media goes.
And it all sells papers and drives clicks and all the things that we know it does. And that's because rage does encourage people to click. And we know that more so than love and lovely stories about pretty women. And there's something about like Blake Lively and in that category of women who are beautiful, that are successful, that are easy targets because we're all sitting at home, poor and not as pretty as these women and not as rich in our Pinterest-worthy kitchens. And so it's easy fodder, right? It's simple to just go, well, honestly, do we really need to see Blake Lively or Meghan Markle in their rich homes anymore talking about their lifestyle brand? Not really. Do we need to hate on them? No. I don't think that's necessary at all. I think it's awful that they've become those sorts of victims. But at the same time, am I going to watch that show? Probably not.
Absolutely.
Like you can tell me about the show.
Oh, you're not going to watch?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, really?
I might. I wouldn't hate watch it.
I probably will.
You will?
Yeah,
I think I'll.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll watch episodes, and that's only fair, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think that. Yeah, I don't hate her. I think she's very attractive. I think good on her for having a life outside of the royal family and actually using her voice in a way that she feels comfortable with, and obviously didn't suit her, and I understand that, and they're still in love apparently. But yeah, will I watch her cook some leek
do we
tarts?
know? Are
I
they
don't
really?
know.
According to the media, maybe not.
That's right. No, he does feature in the trailer for about 2 seconds. There's a bit where they're embracing, because I was waiting for the moment where Prince Harry was in there, and he is in it.
Okay.
So,
well, I will watch, and I will let you know if she massages a chook in the same way as Nigella does.
My prediction is that she won't be massaging a chook. There'll just be a lot of beige. And as The Guardian said, the trailer looks like a quiet luxury Pinterest board come to life. And I feel I kind of have to agree. Nothing wrong with that. It's just that I don't know that I'm not interested. Is it bad? Yeah.
No,
okay.
It's not really. Okay. No.
So we've covered the good news story, and we did promise that we'd also talk a little about some bad news. And I don't know if we should call it bad news, but just some more serious news. And over the Christmas break, you may have seen a lot of news about how the Boxing Day tsunami was 20 years old on Boxing Day, obviously 2024, which is unbelievable. Kathy, tell us a bit about it.
So just before I get to the facts on the Boxing Day, I will also just acknowledge that for Australian listeners, it's 50 years since we had Cyclone Tracy, which was in Darwin as well. So it feels like the 2025 year is a big year for lots of things that have kind of happened,
Yeah.
So,
and actually, can I just say too, I should because I'm from Newcastle, but it's 35 years since the Newcastle earthquake, which was on the 28th of December 1994.
Right.
So 34 years, is that right? No,
yeah.
1989. Sorry.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, these things roll around,
They do.
and these big anniversaries. But anyway, so it's important, I guess, that we just acknowledge that there are lots of anniversaries of big days, and when these things happen, I mean, I only had Zach. I was pregnant with the twins when the Boxing Day tsunami happened. And so the 2004 Boxing Day tsunami was the worst natural disaster of its kind in human history.
God. Yeah, I know. I remember it was bad, but it's crazy, isn't it? It's a big deal.
Andrew and I actually watched the National Geographic. It's a 4-part series of the and for anyone who really kind of wants to delve into the big facts and things like that, it is definitely worth watching. It's on Disney.
Yeah.
For anyone that hasn't. But anyway, so yes, this was the biggest natural disaster of its kind. And the thing was, we just didn't know how bad it really was at the time. An earthquake registering a magnitude of at least 9.1 struck off the coast of northern Sumatra in Indonesia in the Indian Ocean at 7:58 a.m. local time on the 26th of December 2004. The waves were about 30 times the size of an average person and about 7 times the size of an average 2-story home.
Wow.
At least 227,000 people were killed in more than a dozen countries stretching from Indonesia to the coast of Africa.
Wow.
With Indonesia, Sri Lanka and Thailand and India being some of the worst hit. Among the dead were 27 Australians. I'm sure there were many British among the dead, and many others from around the world. So I know Andrew and I sat and watched that, and I think we watch those kinds of things because it's just the emergency services in us, and we watched. But I remember sort of sitting there and really being struck by the magnitude of it and the people that were involved at the time, particularly the people that were sitting watching the earthquake in the they watch earthquakes. That's what they do, the seismologists. And initially they thought it was like an 8 magnitude, and they're like, oh, we've never really seen anything like this. And then they realized it was much worse. But when we go from 8 to 8.1, it's not like it's just that little tiny increase. It's exponential increase. And yeah, so it was just incredible. And the other thing was they were looking for the tsunami in the wrong direction. So they were looking for it to go through into the Pacific Ocean.
Oh.
And it didn't go into the Pacific Ocean. It went to the Indian Ocean. And the other side of it is there was no early warning system in the Indian Ocean. So even if it had have gone and they had have been looking that way, there was no way to get that warning. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I remember it personally. We were in Dubbo for Christmas, and I didn't have any kids at that point. I was newly married. I had brought a couple of my Pommy friends with me to come back to where Jules is from, Dubbo, with his family, and one of whom was actually supposed to be in Thailand with her Irish friend who sadly died. Yeah, so she was on the phone trying to get hold of him. Oh, it was awful. And obviously back in 2004, we didn't have social media, really. There wasn't a quick way of, finding things out like there is now. So it was much more slow, wasn't it? Yes, there was email and online news, but it was not like it is today. So it was a lot slower to find out what was happening. And I watched the ABC show recently. I'll have to watch the National Geographic one, but I was actually there. It's only a short 30 minutes for our Australian listeners. And that's really interesting because it has those personal stories that I think you just connect to, don't you? Obviously, It's hard to imagine 227,000 people, and that is just a huge number, and it's horrific. And I think that a lot of the media at the time focused on what was happening in Thailand, which was where a lot of the foreigners were. But you realise that obviously most of the people that died were in places like Banda Aceh, where it wasn't, the tourist hotels. It was just the local people.
Completely wiped out.
Complete devastation.
Completely just
gone.
Obliterated off the earth.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah.
And
awful.
That was both through the earthquake and then the subsequent tsunami. And it was interesting because they talked about in the show that I watched, they talked about, what can we do? Like what can we do? And I think it was kind of like 3 hours into it or 3 or 4 hours into the actual event. And they said, you can get the president of the US to ring and reach out to his network of people that he knows around the world and just tell everybody. And I think they got the message to Africa, the low-lying areas of the coastal regions, and they were able to save people because they got the message early enough. But
that it was coming.
And in Sri Lanka, there was a train, like a train that was just washed off the tracks. Basically, the tsunami, it had left one station and it was on its way to another. And the tsunami wiped through and washed it off. And I feel like there was like a handful of survivors. And in the Nat Geo show, they talked to one. And there was only like this handful of survivors off this train that had 1,500 people on it. And it was literally just washed off the track. And they'd made a call to the station. It had just left. And if that call had come through like 2 minutes earlier, they could have stopped the train. If they'd stopped it at the first station, it wouldn't have been on the tracks. It would have been washed off because the train tracks were actually right on the coast. So it was a beautiful train ride, right? And also we didn't have mobile phones like we do now.
No, that's right. It was such a different time.
Ring ahead and go, oh, we missed the train station, so we'll just ring the driver.
Yeah.
That wasn't available.
No.
So
it really was even though it's 20 years, so much has changed technology-wise. There's been a lot of change.
There's been huge change technology-wise. And so I guess the good news out of it is we have certainly learnt a lot scientifically. International bodies are working together to make sure it doesn't happen again. Since the Indian Ocean Earthquake, Geoscience Australia and the Bureau of Meteorology have been working together to monitor earthquakes and tsunamis. We have early warning systems that have been deployed across the Indian Ocean around that, what they call the Ring of Fire. And more people are aware of what a tsunami is. I know for me, I mean, I worked in it, but I always thought a tsunami was going to be a massive wall of water.
Yeah, like a really tall
huge
wall
of water, right? But that's not actually what it is. It's a big storm surge. But before the storm surge, you see a lot of sucking of the water gets sucked right back out. And that in itself, that actual thing is what a lot of people died from, because they ran down, and lots of people that lived on coastal areas and things like that, they're like, we can get to the fish. And so they ran down thinking that they're getting easy fish. But actually when that water came back through, like it just so
thick wall, heavy.
Yes, huge heavy wall of water. So that, I guess, is the awareness of what a tsunami is. And
that's right. Yeah.
That language can be passed from generation to generation now, because people have seen those things happen. So even if there's not an early warning system in coastal areas of small towns or cities or rural countries, like Santa Arche or things like that, survivors will talk about these things and what happens. And just for people who live on coastal areas in Australia, or, you know, if you're holidaying or whatever, we tell you to go at least a kilometre inland, or if you can't get a kilometre inland, you need to go 10 metres up.
Yeah, as high as you can get.
And as high as you can get. As quickly, like, don't, if you hear that there is a tsunami coming, please don't go to the coast and go, I want to see this.
I want to put it on Instagram.
No. Don't Instagram it. It is not an Instagram moment. It is a moment that you need to get away from the coast. If you could please listen to the emergency services person in me. Yes. And, you know, that a few years ago when the Tongan volcano erupted, I was actually working and we did think that there was going to be an East Coast land warning. We were very fortunate. It fell short by about 20 centimetres.
Wow.
But we were looking at potentially having to somehow warn 4 million people on the coast of, like, between Queensland and Victoria, the whole coast.
Wow.
In the middle of the night.
Yes, get out.
To get out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, please don't go to the coast.
I'm just glad I live on a hill.
Yeah, you live on a hill. You're right. And I live more than 10K from the coast, so I'm right too. But I might have a waterfront for a little bit, but yeah. I guess we've covered, like, that's quite heavy, really.
Recent history, heavy recent history, sad, but also, I think it is good, as you say, to reflect on these big events, because we've all lived through them and we need to remember them and learn from them.
Yeah, absolutely. And things change, you know, like I know I briefly touched on Cyclone Tracy in Darwin, but that actually resulted in building standards changing in Australia. So there had to be, you know, buildings had to be built to a certain standard now. They have to be cyclone rated. There's like a whole raft of building code changes that came out of horrifically terrible events, you know, and so sometimes that is what happens out of these horrifically terrible events. So if we can look for those good things. And I will say, I think the world came together like in after the Boxing Day tsunami, because I don't think like that didn't just touch one country. It didn't just touch, it showed the fragility of nature and human life, sorry, not the fragility of nature. It showed the power of nature and the fragility of human life compared to nature.
For sure. Well, look, for the final story, we thought we'd bring up the mood, and we promised, and we were sort of thinking of it as the good, the bad, and the ugly, but it's not really ugly. It's just silly. And we wanted to
This
reflect.
is not ugly. This
It's
is
not ugly at all.
quite fun.
Yeah. Reflect on some other anniversary I think we've both personally been obsessing over, and that is that it's 40 years since 1985. And I think that the reason we keep seeing all these stories online is that as the 1 year passes, another one begins, everyone starts looking back, don't they, and reflecting and comparing. And there's all these posts around about anniversaries, and also 1985 feels like quite a significant year in lots of ways. Maybe it's because it's the zeros and the 5 years, and we're coming into a 2025.
Yeah.
Kathy, what did you discover about 1985?
1985 was a big year, musically and at the movies. So does anyone remember just a little film called Back to the Future? 1985. Teen Wolf. 1985.
But he was busy that year, wasn't he, Michael J. Fox?
Michael J. Fox was busy because he was also still on Family Ties as well. And I'm pretty sure he had not quite had the diagnosis, but he was certainly starting to show signs of Parkinson's. And
gosh, he was so young, wasn't he?
No, and he was just honoured with the Presidential Medal of
Yes, I saw
Freedom?
that. Biden presenting him.
Not sure. So yes, Michael J. Fox was a very, very busy man. There was also a little movie, I don't know if anyone's called The Breakfast Club.
Oh, such a classic. Great song by Simple Minds in that film.
And Molly Ringwald was another one, very busy.
She was busy that year.
Another movie that was a complete fave of mine, St. Elmo's Fire.
Again, a great soundtrack.
I know.
The Brat Pack.
Not great about the 80s. I'm telling you, people, anyone who wasn't old enough to live through the 80s, I'm sorry. We were the best, Gen Xers.
The best. It was a great decade for pop culture. It was so fun. I think that's the thing about the 80s. There's a lot of focus on fun. People there was a lot of wealth in Western countries.
And
it was a growth period, wasn't it? And the fashion and the movies and everything reflected that in its just colour and vibrancy.
Another little known person starred in a movie, Desperately Seeking Susan.
Madge. Queen Madge.
Queen Madge. Can you think of any of the songs from 1985?
Yes, mainly associated with those films. I was thinking of Simple Minds, Don't You Forget About Me. Great song from that vintage. And what was the other one? Oh, Starship, We Built This City. A classic song. I love that song.
My school, we did the 2SM Rocker Stedford and we danced to We Built This City, and we made it to the Sydney Entertainment Centre finals, if you don't mind.
My goodness, you are a celebrity. You have
really not.
Well, yes, you are.
Do you want to know what the number one song in 1985 was?
Yes, I do. What was
Careless Whisper.
A beautiful song.
Wham.
George Michael, what a voice.
Remember when we all used to think, all us girls used to think we had a chance with George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley?
Yeah. I mean,
we didn't.
No. And bless poor George Michael had to hide that for reasons that were going to affect his career.
So
but yes,
they
we all wanted
did.
to marry him because he was a beautiful man.
Oh, and he is. And yes, there was just so many really incredible songs. Wake Me Up Before You Go,
Oh,
Like a
classic.
Virgin.
Yeah.
Do you remember I Feel For You, Shaka Khan?
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's still got a bit of a disco vibe.
Oh, yeah.
Shaka
Shaka
Khan.
Khan.
Yeah.
Then, of course, you've got Dire Straits,
Oh,
Money for
yes.
Nothing.
Yeah, yeah. Great guitar riff in there that my son has played.
Take
Yes.
On Me.
Oh, I love that video. Do you know what? I was obsessed with Morton Harkett. Obsessed. He was a beautiful looking man, model face. Gorge.
And then you've got, what are some of the other songs? Let me think.
I was thinking of Tears for Fears, Shout. I love Tears for Fears.
Let
it on out. Great song.
And then you've got, of course, you've got St. Elmo's Fire.
Oh, yeah. There's a saxophone in the 80s, isn't there?
I know. And Rob Lowe, I tell you, I was going to marry that man.
He was very beautiful as a young man. Still quite attractive, actually. Oh, Rob, isn't he? He's aged well.
Still very attractive, aged very well. See, he's been sober for a very long time. He got off the booze because the booze was not good for Rob.
Well, he lived hard, didn't he? Back in those
did,
days?
and yes. Duran Duran.
Oh,
Simon Le Bon, Be Still My Beating Heart.
Okay, so I once stepped on Simon Le Bon's foot in...
What? I didn't know this.
In London. I was working as a runner for a TV production company for a very brief period, about 8 weeks, and I was carrying a piece of equipment and I was in the foyer of Virgin Radio in London and I stepped on Simon Le Bon. Sorry, Simon Le Bon.
Sorry, Simon, but no. And
that's my story.
The song to leave it on is probably Raspberry Beret.
Oh, beautiful Prince.
Well, or maybe not. Maybe what else is there? There's it's just some incredible.
Well,
Sisters.
Sisters, as in doing it for themselves.
Yes.
That's a great one. That just makes me think of aerobics.
Yes.
It's got a great grapevine move to that one. I think we just need to do a little knee repeater to that one in honour of Annie Lennox. But tell me you've put this into something that we can all enjoy, Kathy.
I sure have. We have a little reel of some movie clips, and I've got a little reel of the top 10 from 1985. And what?
Spotify.
Oh, of course. I have created a Spotify list of all of the songs from 1985. So, you'll find all sorts of things, Phil Collins, Brian Ferry, who else? Bryan Adams, Summer 69.
Oh, that's a great song. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it's great. You can listen, once you start listening to this, you can go and listen to some songs and sing along in your car.
Yes. And we'll share it. And we love you listening.
And we love 1985, apparently.
We do. And apparently, maybe I'm throwing down the challenge to Laura to do something for 1995.
Oh, so many good songs. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll talk 1995 next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to The Change, a fully independent podcast. Whether you're seeking inspiration, curious about change, or just here for the great banter, we'd love you to make The Change your new go-to podcast.
And even better, send us your voice notes or questions about change. We'll use them on the show. Email us at changepod2023@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram at _change_pod. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram for more on The Change.